I'm Riza,
And I am Benz.
and today
We are going to discuss the three important reading strategies that will definitely help you in your reading class.
first, the glass analysis method. In 1970, Dr. Gerald G. Glass, together with his wife, Dr. Esther Glass, developed a reading approach to make decoding easier, especially to dyslexic readers. It is designed to teach children a process for decoding by combining a whole word approach with intensive training in word families with an emphasis on onset and rhymes. Second, the Orton-Gillingham method. In 1925, neuropsychiatrist Samuel T. Orton focused on reading difficulties and identified dyslexia as an educational issue. He collaborated with Anna Gillingham, an educator and psychologist who in the 1930s published instructional materials that laid the foundation of the Orton-Gillingham. Orton-Gillingham is a multisensory approach in teaching decoding which introduced the idea of breaking reading and spelling down into smaller skills involving letters and sounds. Third is the Phono-Graphix. In 1996, Carmen and Geoffrey McGuinness developed a new paradigm in reading instruction. They posit that phonetics is not about teaching sounds to children who already speak in sounds, but it is about teaching them the code for the sounds of their language. Thus, instruction begins from teaching phono or sound and then teaching them graphics or the symbol of that sound. For example, the sound oi and how it is written.
If you plan to use these reading strategies, you may take these following considerations.
The glass analysis is intended for children and adults with learning disabilities such as dyslexia, children with mild intellectual disabilities, beginning readers, and second language learners. And this method is appropriate for early grades to high school. For teacher preparation, lessons typically last in 10 to 15 minutes, so this just needs a little teacher preparation. This is recommended to be used in one-on-one teaching or small groups, but it can also be applicable to a whole classroom setting. This is typically done in person, but this can now be done online, especially for remote students. For online sessions, you'll need the following: stable internet connection, video conferencing platforms such as Zoom, Google Meet, Teams, and others, and PowerPoint presentation. And for a traditional classroom setting, you'll need flashcards. What makes this method amazing is that it fosters stimulus-response bonding, it promotes intensive training in word families with an emphasis on onset and rhymes, and it can potentially improve spelling. However, along with its benefits, you might also want to consider that it is focused on rote drills and instruction is focused on decoding only. Before we proceed with the implementation of glass analysis, let us first differentiate onset from rhymes. An onset refers to the initial consonant sound before the vowel. Like in the word cat, our onset is k, and in the word bat, our onset is the word b. While a rhyme refers to the vowel and the remaining string of letter sounds. So in a word cat, where do you think is our rhyme? Very good. In a word cat, at is our rhyme. Therefore, in a word cat, k is our onset, at is our rhyme. And that's how we teach the glass analysis. We teach the child to segment the word through spelling patterns and we blend them. In teaching glass analysis, you choose a spelling pattern that is new to your child. For example, the word pet. This is the word pet. Again, pet. In the word pet, what sound does letter E make? What sound does letter T make? Amazing. What two letters make the sound E and T? How do you sound E and T together? What if I take et What sound does the letter P make? Very good! Now, how do you sound these words together? Pet, that's correct. You practice this with one-syllable words, and once your child is comfortable, move on to two-syllable words.
The target students in Orton-Gillingham method are children and adults with learning disabilities. Example given, the dyslexia. Beginning readers and second language learners. The grade level appropriate for this method are early grades to high school. The materials needed on this method, especially in the virtual classroom, it needs and requires the stable internet connection, video conferencing platforms like Zoom, Google Meet, Teams, etc., PowerPoint presentation, and multi-sensory online reading activities. For the traditional classroom, it needs to have sensory materials like sandpaper letter, sand, and shaving cream, etc. Lastly, we have to provide flashcards. In this method, a lot of teacher preparation is needed. Orton-Gillingham recommends one-on-one teaching, small groups, especially the whole class. The Orton-Gillingham is wonderful because it fosters individualized learning, suited for learners who may find reading, spelling, and writing difficult, especially for dyslexic students. It supports learning by doing, utilizes procedural learning, especially from phonemic awareness to advanced instruction about roots, prefix, and suffixes, and it utilizes simultaneous multisensory learning, especially given for visual, auditory, and tactile or kinesthetic. With so much benefits, we should consider as well that it needs enough time, knowledge, and resources for instructional materials preparation. Since learning is individualized, it is not suited for big classroom sizes. And lastly, it is time-consuming. Orton-Gillingham is a procedural and multisensory approach in reading. It uses various strategies to teach decoding skills based on the needs of the child. In today's lesson, I will demonstrate how to teach the Orton-Gillingham method to a child. Using your fingers, or index finger or middle finger, I want you to write the letters on the cardboard while sounding them out, okay? Are you ready?
Yes.
Here are the flashcards. You may start now.
D.
Another letter.
K.
Another letter.
B.
Once the learner is comfortable in the letter sound, proceed in the word reading and spelling. Another teaching tip. You can let your students use a mirror in order to sound out the difficult sounds like the sounds of F. Enjoy teaching!
Phono-Graphix is intended for beginning readers, adult non-readers, learners with dyslexia, and second language learners. And this method is appropriate for early grades to high school. Typically done in person, but this can now be done online, especially for remote students. For online sessions, you'll need the following: stable internet connection, video conferencing platforms such as Zoom, Google Meet, Teams, and others, interactive PowerPoint presentation, and audio devices such as headphones, since this strategy focused on language sounds. Moreover, for the traditional classroom setting, you'll need flashcards, phoneme charts, whiteboards, and other interactive instructional materials. This strategy needs moderate teacher preparation and can be used before, during, and after reading a selection. This is recommended to be used in one-on-one teaching or small groups, but it can also be applicable to a whole classroom setting. What makes this method amazing is that, first, it is designed to build strong phonic skills through blending, segmenting, and letter sound correspondence. Second, it promotes independent learning by letting the learner read on his or her own after guided practice. And third, it can be a good intervention to struggling readers, for it uses hands-on activities and games. However, along with its benefits, you might also want to consider that, first, it requires extensive training and knowledge on letter sounds for both teachers and students. Second, It requires active visual memory of phonemic or letter sounds. And third, it can be time-consuming since error correction is done after independent practice, and students also need to learn set of skills. The nature of the code. In Phono-Graphix, letters are pictures of sound called sound pictures. Sometimes a sound picture is one letter and sometimes two or more. How many sound pictures do you think the word boat has? Well, boat has 3 sounds and 3 sound pictures. B, O, T, boat. The nature of the child. Jean Piaget and Jean Flavel found that children have the ability or nature to analyze and reuse visual figures. For example, when a child sees this, he or she correctly identifies that it is a square and this is a triangle. Later, when the child sees this, he or she doesn't need a rule such as when triangle and square goes together, you say house, in order to recognize that this is a house. Therefore, children can easily learn that this are picture of the same word. The same way, they learn that this are pictures of the same sound. As you can see, we have the word cut, and cut has 3 sound pictures, k, a, t. The numbers below will help the child segment the sounds. In teaching Phono-Graphix, you let the child segment the sound by asking, what are the sounds that you hear in the word cut? The answer is k, a, t. And then you let them put the sounds before the number while sounding them out. K, a, t, and blend them. Cut. Afterwards, you let them write the word in a separate piece of paper while sounding them out. The instruction follows 4 levels depending on the capability of the child. So if the child is a beginning reader, start with the basic code, which focus on teaching segmenting, mapping, blending, sound manipulation, and story reading, focusing on CVC patterns first. And only move to the advanced code and the multisyllabic words once your child is comfortable with the basic code.
Decoding is a fundamental reading skills, and according to the simple view of reading, comprehension is impossible without recognizing the letters and their corresponding sounds. Therefore, decoding must rigorously taught to the second language learner. Glass analysis, Orton Gillingham, and Phono-Graphix are effective strategies for dyslexic readers and that can be applied in the classroom. These methods are particularly beneficial to the beginning and struggling readers because they have focused on the explicit learning. Among the 3, glass analysis is the easiest to implement, requiring minimal time and preparation. Though it lacks engagement as it focused only on the rote learning. Orton Gillingham method, on the other hand, is the most effective method to be used in the classroom because of its emphasis on the multi-sensory learning, which it enhances the retention of each learner. However, like Phono-Graphix, which uses games and activities, it requires considerable time and teacher training and appropriate reading materials to be truly effective. In conclusion, each strategy has its own strength and limitation, and there are no single approach that will work to every child. Additionally, due to the limited research on the effectiveness of these strategies, further studies are needed to evaluate their impact.